Imagine, just for a second, that you had a genuine secret power. A power where you could literally read minds, completely understand someone's emotions, and subtly guide their decisions so you are the one totally in control. Right? Like, whether it's your boss, a buddy of yours, or even a complete stranger, what if you could just make them dance to your tune without them ever realizing it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today in this explainer. We're going to analyze 5 dark psychological influence techniques, breaking down the exact, deep psychology that master influencers use to fundamentally shape human behavior.
Now, I know, at first glance, silently controlling minds, that sounds like pure science fiction or, magic. But it's actually not magic at all. It's pure, unfiltered psychology. This is literally the exact same psychology that top-tier leaders, super persuasive influencers, and, hidden manipulators use every single day to control decisions. And honestly, the most fascinating part? They do it totally silently. The target never even realizes they're being influenced. So today, we're going to decode these tools so you can see exactly how an ordinary person transforms into a master of influence.
Okay, but right off the bat, before we go any further, I need to pass along a very strict warning from our source material. These tools are incredibly powerful, and frankly, they can be really dangerous if they fall into the wrong hands or are used with bad intentions. So we're exploring these dark psychological tricks strictly for educational purposes. The whole goal here is just to raise your awareness. By understanding how these traps actually work, you're going to be able to spot them in your own daily life and, most importantly, defend yourself against them. Because trust me, once you see these techniques in action, you are never going to look at human interactions the exact same way again.
All right, let's jump right into the countdown. Coming in at number 5
is the reverse trap. This technique is wild because it weaponizes something literally every single one of us has, the human ego. It totally taps into this fundamental human truth that people desperately want to do the exact thing they're told not to do. I mean, think about it. If you tell someone, hey, don't look behind you, what's the very first thing their brain is screaming at them to do? Look behind them. Or if you see a big red button that says do not push, the urge to push it is just overwhelming. But it gets so much deeper when you apply this to social dynamics. Let's say you want a friend to help you out with a chore. If you just go up and ask them directly, they might try to dodge it or just straight up say no. But with the reverse trap, you don't even ask. Instead, you say something kind of like, hey, I actually had a job for you, but you know what? Never mind, it's probably way too difficult. I really don't think you can handle it. Boom. Instantly, their ego is deeply bruised. And to protect their pride, they immediately want to prove you wrong, right? They'll literally insist on doing the task. You never actually asked them to do it. In fact, you told them they couldn't, yet there they are, doing exactly what you wanted. It's just a crazy, powerful, somewhat dangerous mind hack where the person totally believes the decision was all their own.
Moving right along, here is trick number 4.
This one is called the master of choice, and it fundamentally changes how we understand the whole concept of free will. Look, you might believe that people make decisions entirely on their own, 100% free will, right? Well, the source material argues something pretty different. It suggests that people don't actually choose freely. They really only choose from the specific options that are placed right in front of them. So the person who wins the game is the person who designs those options. You see, people don't actually want absolute, unlimited freedom. Total freedom is just paralyzing. It's overwhelming. What we really crave is controlled freedom. You want a scenario where you get to make a choice, so your ego feels nice and safe, while someone else is actually controlling the parameters of that choice.
Let me give you a great example. Imagine you want your friend to go out with you. If you take the direct approach and just say, hey, let's go out, you are leaving the door completely wide open for them to be like, no, I'm kind of tired. But look at what happens when you frame it. You ask, hey, should we go to Pizza Hut or Domino's? Suddenly, the whole game has changed. You haven't asked if they want to go out, you've only given them 2 options for where to go, and no matter which one they pick, the end result is exactly the same. They are going out with you. They feel this sense of pride because, hey, they made the decision, but the real control, that was in your hands the whole time. And honestly, this exact framing is a massive favorite among huge brands and marketers. Think about every buy one get one free or buy 2 get 50% off deal you've ever seen. You walk away feeling like you scored the best deal ever and made this super smart choice, but the marketer designed those exact options specifically to make sure you buy something either way. When you control the options, you literally become the master of their decision.
So, this actually brings us to a really fascinating turning point in our explainer today. If you aren't using physical force, and you aren't even giving a direct command, why do people still surrender their boundaries? Like, why do they just yield to someone else's will without putting up a fight? Well, it all comes down to emotional traps.
Which leads us to trick number 3.
We're talking about the guilt trap.
which is very often called the emotional mirror. Guilt is just this incredibly heavy emotion, right? And when someone feels it, they naturally bend over backwards to fix it, without anyone even having to force them. Let's say you have a friend who keeps promising to hang out, but is just constantly dodging you. If you go on the attack and say, "You never make time for me," what happens? Their immediate instinct is to get defensive, throw their walls up, and create even more distance. But what if you soften your tone and instead you say, "Hey, I understand. If I were important, you'd make time." Wow, that is the emotional mirror. You aren't attacking them, you are simply holding up a mirror that reflects their own actions as a personal failure. Instantly, their guilt just wakes right up. They feel like they've deeply hurt you, and because you didn't attack them, they're the ones who are going to rush to bridge the gap. They'll reach out, they'll over-explain why they've been absent, and they will apologize. You didn't force them to do a single thing. You just let their own guilt do all the heavy lifting for you.
All right, continuing our countdown, here's trick number 2.
If that last trick was all about guilt, the emotional hijack is about becoming the ultimate remote control for the human brain. And it presents this stark, kind of scary psychological truth. Human beings, despite whatever we like to tell ourselves, do not primarily make decisions based on logic. We just don't. We make our decisions based on in-the-moment feelings. When someone is under the heavy influence of shock, love, deep guilt, or fear, their logical brain basically just shuts off. They make choices based purely on how they feel right in that specific fleeting second, not on actual reality. So, if you can take control of someone's emotions, you effectively seize the remote control to their mind.
There is this massive divide between how we think we act and how we actually act. On one side of the coin, we have logical decision-making, so that's facts, reality, long-term logic. But on the other side, we have emotional decision-making, fear, anger, pride, those really immediate gut feelings. And when large entities, from major global brands to political figures across the entire spectrum, want to win favor or secure your vote, they rarely focus on the logic side. They aren't just standing there listing dry facts. Instead, they operate almost entirely in that emotional space. They'll deliver messages perfectly designed to awaken deep feelings of fear about the future, or anger at an opponent, or this immense pride in a shared identity. By connecting with you on a purely emotional level, they are executing an emotional hijack. In that split second of really high emotion, a person might cast a vote or make a massive purchase that they might logically regret way down the road, but honestly, by then, the game is already won. It's a pretty stark reminder that people rarely remember the logical arguments you gave them. They literally only remember exactly how you made them feel.
And now we have reached the climax of our countdown, the big one, trick number 1.
This is widely considered the absolute most intimidating psychological trick of them all, the power of silence. Look, psychology teaches us that real power does not come from being the loudest person in the room. Just think back to when you were a little kid and you messed up big time. The tension is super high, right? You stand in front of your mom and she's yelling and scolding you loudly. And yeah, it's unpleasant for sure, but then you stand in front of your dad. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't say a single word. He just gives you this silent, unblinking stare. Your entire body just freezes. That silence is infinitely more terrifying than the loud scolding, because in the absolute absence of noise, your own brain starts racing. You start inventing 1,000 terrible scenarios. The person who stays quiet and just observes, they hold all the actual power.
So if you ever suspect a friend is hiding something from you and you really want to extract the truth, the absolute worst thing you can do is beg them to tell you. Instead, our source suggests following these exact steps. Step 1, look them right in the eye and simply state, "I know everything." Step 2, lock onto their eyes and maintain unbreakable eye contact. And step 3, remain completely, totally silent. Seriously, do not say another word. As the seconds tick by, that silence is going to become agonizing for them. Their internal anxiety will absolutely skyrocket. Their guilt is going to bubble over, and simply to break that unbearable quiet, they will almost always start talking and just confess the truth entirely on their own.
During any confrontation, just refusing to engage verbally causes this intense, almost physical discomfort in the other person. It triggers massive anxiety, it causes overthinking, and it builds up all this internal guilt. In fact, if you're ever in a super heated argument, the source suggests you shouldn't scream back at all. Just look them right in the eyes, offer this slight, super calm smile, and stay completely quiet. Without you fighting back, their own points will actually start to sound weak and hollow in their own minds. They'll literally begin to doubt the very words coming out of their own mouth. Silence completely magnifies your presence and drains their confidence. When everyone else is busy talking, your silence makes you the most powerful person in the room.
So, we've broken down these 5 incredibly potent techniques, right? The reverse trap, master of choice, the emotional mirror, the emotional hijack, and the power of silence. Now, it's time to take this out of theory and put it into reality. The source material actually leaves us with a 7-day challenge. Over this next week, your goal is not to go out and try to manipulate your friends. Please don't do that. Your goal is just to observe. Actively watch for these techniques in big marketing campaigns, in political speeches, or even just in your everyday conversations. Build up that awareness so you can successfully defend your boundaries and really become a stronger, much more perceptive version of yourself.
And we're going to leave you with this one final provocative thought. You've seen today just how easily the human mind can be nudged, framed, and hijacked entirely in silence. So now that you actually know the rules of the game, whose decisions are you really making? Are your choices truly yours, or were they secretly designed by someone else? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. If this changed the way you see the world, make sure to subscribe and keep staying curious. We'll see you in the next one.